Good evening, Raw FX members. Welcome to the weekly breakdown video, ready for Monday, the 18th of February. A bit earlier than normal, but hopefully this will give you a bit more time to review and have a look at the video before markets open on a Sunday evening. I wanted to start with the dollar index, usually a key barometer for US dollar pairs for next week. Looking at the weekly, this is the key part here. We've got this 1, 2, 3, 4 touches up there, one here, and we're currently at this level. Hence why this last 2 weeks in bullish price action on the dollar has caused pairs like Euro USD, Pound USD to drop, and has also contributed to USD CAD rising, US dollar JPY rising, etc., etc. You get the gist. So what we're looking for ultimately is, we've got this ascending trend line, we've got this rejection from this descending trend line here too. So as we open a new week, probably get another test of this up at 97.16. The fact we've rejected it the first time, fancy a further drop down, but if we zoom in on different levels, you can see on the daily we've actually touched it 3 times already, so we may get a Monday's candle may retrace slightly up this candle, probably won't get as high, and if we continue the downward momentum, the first stop is 96.6. Likewise, if we break out and make a new high above, then we're in a completely different ball game. So yeah, the first stop is this area here. As you can see, we've got support, we had resistance here and here. A break lower here, you'll see a break, retest, and hopefully a further drop to test this trend line here. So ultimately as well, if we think US dollar's coming down, gold's going up, that's how the correlation works. So let's take a look at some of the pairs that we've got watching for next week. Firstly, USD JPY. Clearly this trade went against us for some time, but we survived, and looking at this, we've got a head and shoulders formation. This was the ascending trend line. We just kept going up at one point until we eventually got rejection from around 111.1 region. So yeah, on the 1 hour, we broke this structure here. With this candle, we retraced, touched the moving average, and dropped again. And we found a bounce at around 110.26. I think we closed actually at around this level, so we exited at about the right time. Because on the 30 minutes, I had drawn. Our 200-day moving average is dropped off here, but bear with me. I had the 200-day moving average highlighted on the 30-minute time frame, and like a magnet, that's where we took some profit. Or was it the 1 hour? Here we go. That was the box I had drawn. Let's delete this head and shoulders. Yeah, I had a box drawn here, so we took some profit in and around this. Well, we closed the trade at there. We then bounced back up. See how this moving average here, 50-day moving average, EMA, has acted as dynamic resistance. We've closed back below, so we're heading back towards 110.26. Break of that region, we could look for something like this. Break, retest, and then a look to not only test this trend line, but also this area here. And our trade will look something like this. We'll probably go for that sort of structure. So only a 25 pip stop, but a 40, 50 odd pip target. And then clearly if we actually broke that, we would trail our stops down. Quick look at gold. It's been a bit of a pain for us last week. Got the direction right on Friday, took us out just for nothing, and then went all the way up. It took us out. I'll zoom in on a daily time frame and you can see it. We've got this first region to break 1325, a break of that, and we're heading up to 1360. So yeah, on the daily, we've got this structure here. Our stop was on this structure, which I'll zoom in and show you on the 4 hour, and we spiked just below, breaking out and obviously going in the favored direction anyway. So on the 4 hour, this was the region here that we took the long from. This wick here, stop was too tight. Potential, well, it was because it caught it, but hindsight's a wonderful thing. But that's the ascending trend line. So ultimately, what could we look for? We could look for rejection here, 1325, with a stop 30-40 pips above to probably catch a 40-50 pip move back down to the moving averages, or on a break, clearly the normal process of a break, ideally enter on the retest. Sometimes you don't get that opportunity, so we'll look at that at the time. But break, retest, and then the move upwards to 1360. Kiwi JPY is looking quite nice on the 1 hour. So wait for market open. We'll look and see what happens. We've got rejection from this area here, 1, 2, 3. We broke up here with this candle, and we had a bearish engulfing candle, retraced slightly and fell again. And we're back up at this region, but we've made a lower high, and we're looking to reject and come lower here. As you can see on the 4 hour, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wicks from there. And, you know, a stop loss. Just above this region. Something like that. To have a longer term, well, say longer term target. An 80 odd pip target down to this region here. Makes sense. So we'll keep an eye on that on market open. US dollar Swiss franc, again, another one that was testing us last week. We had this volatility on market open last Sunday night. And, you know, that's quite a bearish rejection from this region, but we've decided to test it 1, 2, another 2, almost, well, 3 times. And we're still in this trade. We're only 10 pips away from entry now. And this rejection should be enough to send us through this trend line that I've got marked here. Ultimately, I mentioned on the analysis channel, it'd be nice to get a break of that. We'll come below this 50-day moving average, bounce back up and find it as resistance, and then hopefully make way down to 99564. You should have amended your targets to around this region first, just for that reason. But we will ride this like we are currently doing USD CAD. Let's take a look at that. Right, so USD CAD, we have got this descending trend line on the 4 hour, making lower highs, nice rejection candle, retested, and we end, well, we've got 2 trades here. One that we took on the 1 hour at 33.3, I think, something like that. And then another one on Friday. So nice rejection here, nice close to Friday, and I think our first area of watching price is here. We could also have, I think Adrian pointed out in the chat, an inverse head and shoulders. We could do. We could spike also from 1.323 and shoot up. But with the way dollar index is looking as well, I'm favouring still more of a downwards move. Not last week, the week before, we had this marked on the weekly, and we've also got this key weekly level at 1.326 here. As you can see, how price is still below it. And if you zoom back through the analysis channel, I called a bounce, I called a rejection from there to then come back and break through. Now, because that is a possible outcome, we're just riding this as much as we can. So on a pullback, we might get caught with a trailing stop loss, but we're going to try and ride this and secure as much profit as possible. So again, let's see. But first target area will be down here. We'll pull the stop in. We'll watch for a break and see how many pips we can milk it for. We should have about, or you should have 80, 140-ish at the minute. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. Right, we're still in GJ. Really was quite adamant that we would have got a rejection from here, but clearly that wasn't the case, and we flew straight through it. But we're at the next level, so let's just take a look at the overall structure. We had this break on the weekly, similar on the monthly. We rejected that trend line there, look. But looking at the 1 hour, here we go. So we were unlucky last week with this pair and pound CHF. We had two sells on and we got caught. Well, I think we were in this trade here and we got caught on a wick like this, or it might have been this one, I can't remember. But overall, you know, the analysis of bouncing off this trend line and coming down was correct. It was just a shame that there was that spike at the time. I think it was probably when the EU had said they hadn't received any requests for an extension or something like that. So yeah, this is where we are. Look, if we look left, we're at this area of resistance that's been very, very strong in the past. I could even move it even further across. We've also got this 1, 2, 3. We've already had 1, 2, 3, 4 wicks rejecting from there. So let's see what happens with GJ on open. Stops at 142.5. We'll see how market opens on Sunday. That might need to be tweaked up. Depends on spreads. But still confident that overall we're working down in this channel. However, one could also say it could be a bull flag from here and a break upwards, but I think there's more favouring a downside view than an upside view. Just a simple one on pound AUD. This is looking quite like a nice structure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 touches of that. Could be a target up to 1.89, or we could break. So you got to just set your go into the long trade from here. Potentially wait for another test. Price is still below all moving averages and especially below the 200. So you could wait for another test of this, or you could wait for price to break out of these moving averages, come back just to retest them and go again, of which then your trade would look something like that. If we got a break, we could get a break, we could get a retest, and then your trade would look something like that. Where would your target be? Probably be heading for this region here. Okay, so a few people have messaged last week about how they find you can analyze pairs, but it's also finding setups. So you're looking at risk reward, you're looking at areas of price breaks, and you've got to look at where your stop loss would be. Here it would be if this breaks down and comes up here, be above this in case we've got a fourth or fifth touch of this trend line, also above the moving averages, and the target would be here. It wouldn't have the right risk reward, although we could get a bounce from there, but if we did, hopefully you'd have pulled your stops in or trailed your stop loss down anyway. But here we've got some previous structure, and then clearly you would trail your stop loss down. So just a bit of guidance on pound AUD. Right, Euro USD, we seem to have respected this here. Okay, if we look on the 4 hour, we spiked off it here. Now, because of the anticipated dollar drop, hopefully for next week, we need to break back above this weekly level, 1.1315, and then we could head back up. We could come back down a bit first and retrace off this daily candle, probably 20-30 pips. That would be a good entry. We're currently fighting with this 21-day EMA, so we could come down a bit before we break above. I'd ideally like to see a break above the 50-day EMA first to bounce back off it and head back up and break the 200. So when you're looking at the weekly charts, we are still below this trend line just there. Okay, so ultimately I think the biggest factor in this is how the dollar behaves and to see how Euro USD reacts. Similar with Pound USD. So yeah, interesting. We could potentially have a big bull flag here. If we look at that, that would have been a lovely entry there. This held up for a time. This is where we were short, and then we just pierced straight through it like we did on GJ. But if we look on the lower time frames, we rejected it here, here, and you know, I think at one point we were 15 to 20 pips up, and then we've got this breakthrough. So similarly to Euro USD, Pound USD, we're currently spiking off this 50-day moving average. We're above the 21. We're still below the 200. Everything's still to the downside. But actually, if we look for a break there and a retest to go further up, moving averages act as dynamic support and resistance. You can see here, look. So once we've broken to the upside, moving averages will start to come back up that way. Price will break and could just bounce back off them as well. So that's what we will be looking for on Pound USD. Kiwi Swiss franc, again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numerous touches of this upper trend line. One thing that just make me a bit more nervous is this very bullish weekly candle. It's extremely bullish, not a lot of rejection from the top there, whereas on these ones we touched it and reversed, touched it, came back, touched it, reversed, and then we had the downtrend. We had the downtrend from here, downtrend from here, and then we had the New Zealand dollar news in the week, which obviously helped our pound New Zealand dollar sell, because New Zealand dollar pairs got some strength, and we've not really had much rejection. So although we've got a nice double top type structure there, and then possible M structure, as you can see, overall favouring a touch of this trend line here. So yeah, overall that's pretty much the same on other Kiwi pairs. Let me find some more. Well, we've already looked at New Zealand dollar JPY. We've already looked at that one. So if we're looking opposite way, pound New Zealand dollar is a great trade at 0.91, I think it was. So 200 pips we bagged. We could have bagged, I think, over 300 if we'd have left it, but the profit was there, so we took it. So where New Zealand dollar type pairs are dropping, pairs like pound New Zealand dollar, euro New Zealand dollar could look for a bounce. So we've got a potential trend line here that we've drawn. We've got the rejection one here from here, but this zone's holding up currently. So we bounced from it here, tested it a couple of times here, broke through, 2 nice wicks there, and we've got the rejection here currently. But also we've clearly got this support here along here too. So we need to, as you can see, if I draw a line there, horizontal line, let's look to break that a bit more aggressively. So break up, and we could look for a long trade from there. This was also a nice candle. Let's look on the 4 hour. Nice bullish engulfing candle from this level. And just when we've got momentum like this, clearly we've got this rejection. We had this really big bearish candle, wick fill, slight pullback, moving averages crossing over, and this strong downward momentum. This is a nice candle to show a potential reversal, which we got, but then clearly the sellers took over to take us back to that level of 1.866. ADJPY, rejection from a trend line that I've got here. We could potentially come back down from here. Similar to UJ, I'm seeing this as a right shoulder. Again, we could quite easily find a trade that works on a risk to reward ratio here. We might pop back up again. Sometimes, as I mentioned before, the right shoulder can take us quite a bit higher to take out stops before the bigger move down. So you could wait for that. Ultimately, a structure to your trade like so could work. But we'll see on market open. But it's something that I'm definitely looking out for. And last one we'll look at, AUD USD. Some quite nice structure here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. We've also got 1, 2, 3 here. So we're currently in this channel, and price action over here is going to be interesting. So we're going to be looking in and around here. Instinct tells me we're going to pop back down from here by probably only 15-20 pips. Moving averages are crossing. They've crossed here, they're crossing here. All of them are going to cross probably around this region, which will bring us back up. So from here we could then head up to there, which might then give us a nice rejection and a sell trade. So hopefully you can all see that. It's quite nice price action, and it could play out. We've also got this added confluence here. So price has bounced from here previously, which is this area too. We might get the wick and then the candle, and we could head back lower. Ultimately, this could be a big bear flag, and we could then potentially have the target of 0.70282. And that could tie up to, if you remember, pound AUD, a break or bounce of the trend line. Euro AUD is exactly the same. So if Aussie dollar drops from that area that I've just highlighted, let's go back, that'll be a big drop from there. Then that might match the price action that on these pairs we could find Euro AUD, pound AUD to go up. So I've got this trend line, sorry, this horizontal area here highlighted, 1.57958, probably a weekly level. Yeah, here look, numerous weeks testing that. That might be the trigger to send us back up there. Just something to watch out for. Clearly, we're anticipating and looking at probability for potential moves. Trading's about being ready to enter your trade after you've highlighted what might happen before it does. Clearly, price will do what it wants, but as long as we can react and change our view accordingly, then that's fine too. Clearly, if this doesn't get a bounce from here and we fall straight through, we'll look for the retest of this weekly trend line and look for a sell position. So either way, we'll be ready to capitalize on these moves. Let's have a great week, team, and we'll see you Monday.